Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about my least favorite or most disappointing books of 2021. So today's video is going to be a mix of two things. Books that I found disappointing, not saying that they're bad, just books that I had higher hopes for whatever reason. And then we have books that I don't like, that I would say are the worst books of 2021. None of them came out in 2021, so if you're looking for me to bitch about new releases, you'll get that in the disappointing section, but not in the worst books. But if you're interested in learning about the books I didn't like this year, let's get into it. So we're gonna start off with like the nitty-gritty. We're gonna talk about the worst books that I read in 2021. Newsflash, just so you know, I don't think I own any of these books anymore. I am very, very good at unhauling the books that I don't like and will never read again. So some of these I will just be, most of these I will just be putting up a picture of, but a lot of these I've blocked out a lot, so I'll have to rack my brain. So the first, I guess subjectively worst book of 2021 was Four Letter Word by Krista Desir. I had a feeling this was going to be bad. A lot of these books came out of my video reading the lowest rated books on my Goodreads TBR, and yeah, this one was well deserved. I gave it a 2-star. Yikes. It's basically about these kids in high school, and a new girl comes to town and she's so cool and everybody loves her and everybody wants to be her friend, but our main character is not so sure. She doesn't get a great vibe. She's not the nicest to her. And then the new girl's like, hey, I have this really cool game that we used to play at my old school, and it's a game of just like it's boys versus girls, and each team has a word, a 4-letter word that they know and they don't want the other team to know. And you basically have to get the word from the other team. And obviously, because it's guys versus girls, shit happens. No, didn't like it at all. I don't really know. It was kind of pitched as like a mystery thriller, and the twist at the end, I was like, no. It was like a crappy contemporary that then tried to become an ominous thriller. Wasn't down for it. Like, the things that happened at the end, I was like, are you fucking kidding? Like, what? This game ruined lives. So, yeah, wasn't a huge fan of it, to be honest, at all. Don't waste your time. From that same video, we have We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach, which is, I am going to say, is objectively the worst book I ever read, much less worst book I read in 2021. This book pissed me off. Like, it was sitting at like probably like a 2.5 star for most of it. I was just like, this is not great. The end just, infuriated me. This is basically about a town that learns there is an asteroid of some sort or something plummeting to Earth. It's gonna kill everybody, and basically everybody like loses their shit, like quitting school, doing drugs, partying, rioting. There's a detention center at one point that they break out of. Like, it's weird. It's weird, and I never knew where it was gonna go, and I was like, why are we doing this? Like, it just took in weird directions. My first biggest issue was that the teens didn't act like teens. They acted like self-confident 22, 23-year-old girls and boys that were just making stupid decisions, but like adult stupid decisions. Like, the girl was going out on a school night to a bar and bringing home a guy, and then being like, oh, he can't be here when my dad finds out. Like, I was just like, and this was happening like all the time, and I was like, like, I was not a part of the cool people in high school, clearly, but like, I know people who were, and this is not what they were doing. Like, yes, maybe on weekends they were hooking up with people in like cars and people's houses that parents weren't home, and maybe sneaking someone in every once in a while, but like every night, like on school nights, like, first problem. Second problem, there's a trigger warning rape scene in this. the male author decides to narrate her thought process while this is happening, and something along the lines of like, well, he needs this, let me just let this happen. He needs this, I can give him pleasure, I can give him, you know, happiness for a little bit, like let me do that for him. Up until this point, this character is awful. This character has always been awful. Like, there's nothing redeeming about the guy who's raping her, and it was like so upsetting. Like, it was like they were trying to like be like, oh, it's okay because XYZ. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay to put a rape scene in a YA book where the girl decides what's happening to her is okay because it's bringing the guy pleasure. No. No. Sorry. I don't know, and like maybe I'm wrong in saying that. I don't know for thinking of that, and like I understand maybe it's a coping mechanism, whatever, but to me, putting that in a YA novel and saying to teens like, if this happens to you, you know, you can feel better about it because you gave that man pleasure. Like, I didn't like it at all. The ending sucked too. Like, nothing happened. Like, it was all just for nothing. So no. Like, one of the only books I've ever given a 1 star. Ooh. Let's talk more about male authors, shall we? We have The Christmas Train by David Baldacci. Dachi? I don't know. I don't care how to pronounce it. Ugh. I talked about this in my December wrap-up. I don't know how to describe the fact that, like, being in men's heads, I don't like it, and I really don't like being in cocky assholes' heads. Yeah, and that was like the entire book. The entire book is just him like giving commentary about things like women's bodies and nagging and, oh, she's annoying and she's this, and she takes up the whole stairwell, and I was just like, okay, and like, I don't know, I just didn't like any of it. I mentioned this before, the Hallmark movie that they made, way better. Way better. Dermot Mulroney, not at all. Well, he's kind of dislikable, but in like a hasn't found his way kind of thing. And in the book, following in this man's head, infuriating, frustrating, infuriating. Didn't like him, wasn't rooting for him. I was like, no. Like the love interest, I was like, run away, sweetie. You were right the first time when you left him because this man ain't it. He's not it. Caraval. We're not even, I was gonna put this in most disappointing, but then I realized that like I didn't have high expectations and I was correct. I almost decluttered this book so many times and I kind of wish I had because, oh God, I didn't like it. Like truly didn't like it. Didn't understand the point of it the entire time. I'm actually like kind of mad to an extent because the premise of this like circus game thing, like this whole Caraval game, and like you could win everything and a wish and all this stuff, and like you could do such cool things with it. Like it could be like night circus with like a game element. How cool would that be? No, they like she took the friggin' setting and was like, yeah, this is gonna be cool, but I'm not gonna expand on it enough to be satisfying or for you to properly picture it, and I'm not gonna use it the way that it should be used. And maybe in future books it will expand, build on, and like utilize the world better. I was so like, are you kidding me? The plot in this, didn't care about anything. She kept losing her damn sister, and I was like, okay, her sister like wants to be lost. Like, I mean, yes, she's being manipulated and blah blah blah, but like at some point you gotta be like, you know, you're your own person. And I understand if she thought that there would be no book and she cared about her sister and she wanted to protect her sister, but at the same time I was like, where's your evidence that she's in real danger? Because I'm not seeing it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the clues left. I felt those were like a stretch. No. The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. Oh. This I was gonna put in disappointing because I had just read Coldest Girl in Cold Town and I thought, well, maybe that's why. I loved that book, and then I read this and it just wasn't as good. No, it just is not great. Like, it's just not Holly Black's greatest writing. Like, I wanted so much more. It's about a town who knows that fairies are real and that magic is real. Such a cool premise. They have a fairy boy in a glass coffin in the woods. He's never woken up, and then one day he's gone. And I didn't care. Did not care at all. There's twins searching for him and like going on the quest to like figure shit out, and they have a friend who is a fairy child that his parents basically didn't steal from the mother left him, but like didn't give back to the fairies, so everybody like blames him. And like things are hitting the fan. Like there's like this creepy branch villain killing, or I'm not even sure if anybody died, attacking, maybe they did die, people in this town, and I didn't care. I was like, okay, whatever. And then you like find out that our like main character, there's lots of shit, like she's, you know, she's basically sold her life to the fairies. Like there's just elements, like lots of elements that I remember, and none of them mattered. I was just like, okay, why did we do all this? So yeah, didn't like that. And last up for this part of the video, we have Cinderella is Dead. I hate that this is in here, but I just don't think this was good. I didn't have the highest expectations, so I couldn't be disappointed. Y'all, the writing, it was just, I hate to say like it feels like a debut, because it's not like I could do any better. I don't know. I want to write a book. I haven't started. I can't talk shit about writing when I don't write, but at the same time, the writing for this just did not do it for me. It just felt underdeveloped. It felt, I don't even know how to describe it. It just didn't, it felt new. It felt like she'd never written a book before, and I didn't like it at all. You're supposed to be rooting for the lesbian relationship. I felt like it came off really insta-lovey and weird. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And just a quick thing here, I do understand that a lot of these books are YA. I am not the target demographic, but mostly the issues I have with them are like, this could have been better. Even with YA, I have read some beautiful YA. And even middle grade, beautiful middle grade. Like my favorite book last year was a middle grade. I understand I'm not target demographic, but like, oh, just no, it didn't do anything for me. And now we're gonna talk about the most disappointing books for me. This is a little different. Disclaimer, I'm not happy that these books are in this category. I would have loved to love these books. The last category, I didn't really care how I felt about the books. I kind of went in just like, maybe I like this, maybe I won't. This category, they're in here because I wanted to love them, truly. Let's just get like the obvious one out of the way. Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Riley. I wanted to love this. I have loved every Riley Sager to a certain degree that I've read. And this was the first one that I gave a pity 4-star and have since backed it up to a 3. That might even be generous. This just wasn't up to his normal standard, and that's why I was really disappointed. It just felt underdeveloped. It felt like he wasn't utilizing his normal like plot twists, the creativity he normally has. All of it felt weirdly predictable, and then the stuff that wasn't predictable was like, no, like why? Like it didn't, I don't mind when things are completely out of left field, but I don't like it when it's like cop-outs, and that's what like this entire book felt like. Every twist felt like a cop-out, and none of it felt believable. And like Riley writes some crazy shit, but like most of the time I'm like, this could happen. This book, the entire time, I was just like, no, I don't believe it, Riley. I don't believe it. I liked the last page. I remember really loving the last page. Which, like, I think I liked the last page because it made the rest of the book feel like, oh, this was all for a reason. He did all those things on purpose. But the longer I've gone after reading it, the more I'm like, No, you could have done better. You could have done so much better. And I'm sad about it. I'm so sad about it. All's Well by Mona Awad. This is disappointing because Bunny was one of my favorite books last year. I absolutely loved it, and I wanted this to be like Bunny. That's all I wanted. I wanted another dark humor, twisted shit that made me scream and cackle. This did not do that. It had, like, it was going there, and then it just, like, took a weird turn that didn't work, and I was quite disappointed. I liked what it did, dealing with chronic pain. Our main character has chronic pain. She is a theater professor slash theater director at a college, yeah, where the students don't want to put on A Midsummer's Night Dream. Is it A Midsummer's Night Dream? No, it's All's Well That Ends Well. Duh. They don't want to put on All's Well That Ends Well. They want to put on Macbeth, and shit happens. Everyone basically treats her like she's crazy, like she doesn't have real pain, and that she's over dramatic. So the main premise of the book is that she makes them understand her pain. And there were moments in this where I was like, hell yes. This is why I love Mona Awad. This is why I loved Bunny. And then it just didn't go where I wanted it to, and it was just disappointing in the end, and it took me way too long to get through for what it was. So unfortunately, it was one of my most disappointing of the year. A Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. Truly Devious. I fucking loved all three. I loved the three main books in this trilogy. They were incredible. I was on board the whole time. I never felt like, oh wow, this book was just filler and I didn't like it. Like, even though looking back, yeah, but I just loved it the whole time. This book, no. So it did a great job of setting up the setting. I loved the summer camp setting. It did so much for me. What really fucked me with this one was the twist. I just felt like it just didn't, not that it didn't make sense, but kind of that it was like, really, that's what you went with? Like, So it just felt like a book that was a money grab, and like that's what it was. Like, Truly Devious made a lot of money, so the publisher was like, write another one, write more Stevie. What happens next to Stevie? No. And I hate that. I hate when books that should have been like, the trilogy could have just ended and they were like, wait, no, money grab. Didn't love it. Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This was so pretentious to me. Like, it just didn't read like teenagers. Like, I wanted to know where this teenager got his master's in English from. Like, I did not connect with the writing. The writing did not do it for me. I also felt like the twist wasn't a twist, it's a contemporary, but like the reveal at the end was predictable from the very beginning. Like, I was like, oh, that's where this is gonna go. And I understand it's a product of its time. It's a YA novel. Like, what was I expecting? But I had such high expectations. And that's the thing with the 3 YA on this particular list. Or 4 YA. My expectations were so high. Box in the Woods because I love the series. The other 3 because of a multitude of reasons. But hype and expectation, like, but really hype built my expectations on this one, and it just fell flat. I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was as profound as people still lead me to believe. Like, it's not just because, you know, years ago people thought this was incredible. It's more that, like, people still talk about it to this day, and I don't get it. I don't get it. There's a sequel that just came out, which, you know, books that don't need sequels, man. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me at all. It felt pretentious. It felt predictable. Couldn't do it. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I was so excited for. I remember when this book was released and I saw it at Barnes & Noble and was like, I need to own that. Oh my god, I want to read that so bad. That looks incredible. What the fuck? I had so many issues. Like, my text thread to my best friend while reading that was just constantly like, I feel I am the like 25-year-old bitch being like, call your parents, tell an adult, call 911. And that's kind of how I felt like the entire time. Like, she talks about how she trusts her dad, but never goes to him about any of it. Like, someone breaks into her damn house, like, kills her dog is dead. And like, it's just, I'm sorry for spoilers, but like, I couldn't get behind it. And okay, I'm 25, fine, but like I know a lot of people that are my age and older who loved this book. Couldn't do it. Could not do it. And like the fact, like I keep coming back to this. Winter festival outside in Connecticut in the winter? No. In multiple places in this book, she talks about how fucking cold she is. Like, oh my god, my fingers hurt, blah, blah, blah. Oh my god, I need a coat, blah, blah, blah. It's so fucking cold. And then they had an outdoor winter festival with like carnival rides? What? No. And like, it really didn't even need to be there. They never really went to the carnival. Like, it was used like twice. No. I mean, the twist at the end of this, I was like, wait, what? That went where the fuck? Like, I will say that. The twist did not disappoint, but the rest of the book, I was like, bitch, what? Bitch, who? This is stupid. Your senior thesis does not mean this much. Like, you're gonna die. And it just, no. Very Pretty Little Liars, kind of. But I loved Pretty Little Liars, and I still love Pretty Little Liars. This, it was like, okay, all of this is hinging on you not going on to an adult because you don't want your thesis taken away from you. Pretty Little Liars, it was like, I'm fucking my teacher and I don't want people to find out. Fine. But like, did not do it for me. My last disappointing book, I like hate that this is on here, but it was disappointing, I'm gonna be honest, and that's Felix Ever After by Case and Callender. This is mostly because Case and Callender wrote my favorite book of 2020, King and the Dragonflies, and I had super high expectations for this book. Everyone loved it. I've only recently heard people like say like, oh, I don't like Felix as a character, or Felix as a character was annoying to read from, and that was part of my issue with it. Was I am all for unlikable characters, especially when they have reasons to be unlikable like Felix does, but his decisions didn't make sense to me, even as a teenager. Like, I just didn't follow the reasoning in the book. Like, it wasn't laid out to me in a way that I could be like, okay, I understand why you're doing that. Much like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I was like, I don't understand the decisions that are being made because the reasoning isn't being presented in a convincing manner. And that is how I felt about both Felix and whoever our main character is, whoever the good girl is in. Yeah. But so it hurt me that I didn't like this book as much as I wanted to. It's not that I disliked it, it was just disappointing because King of the Dragonflies is like top tier book for me. I loved it so much. It impacted me heavily. When I worked at the library, I would recommend it to as many people as I thought wouldn't get me in trouble for recommending it because, you know, rural small town life is great. But Felix just fell flat for me, and I was so disappointed because like I wanted to love it. I wanted to have that like, oh my god, Case and Callender is just like one of my auto-buy authors, like their writing's incredible, and instead I have to be like, ooh, the writing in this just didn't do it for me at all. And I think that's what it came down to, was Felix as a character not being fleshed out enough for me to understand his reasoning with the decisions he was making, because a lot of it just felt like, wait, why are you doing that? Like, why would you do that? And it's fine, like you can make decisions that maybe, you know, might seem out of character or whatever, or, you know, you don't that someone else wouldn't understand, but I feel like it needed to be laid out in a way that I could be like, ah, yes, this matches with the character and what his motivation is. And it didn't feel like that. It felt like willy-nilly decisions that I was like annoyed and frustrated because I just felt like I was reading from different perspectives when it was just Felix. So that was tough because I wanted to love this book like everyone else did. I appreciate the hell out of what this book does. These books are important. Getting books with trans characters of color, like it's so important, but I was disappointed with the actual product, unfortunately. Like Case and Callender they wrote one of my favorite books, and so I was disappointed that I did not love this one. So those are the worst books and my most disappointing books of 2021. I am hoping to have less of these in 2022, or I will say I read like the worst book I've ever read, the book that pissed me off the most, but most of my reading this year was pretty good. I will say it was mostly average. I feel like I don't think of 2021 as a year that I discovered a ton of favorites. I think of it as a year that I read some pretty decent books, but not too many that were like outstanding. So pretty soon I will be uploading my favorites of 2021. That'll be really interesting. But comment down below your most disappointing book of 2021. I'd love to know, really. But thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye.